Previously on the Seventh Valkyrie, Cyrus and BC finally meet face to face, and May's formal introductions reveal a great deal about everyone involved. With a handful of cards now all on the table, how will Cyrus, BC, and May plan to face not only the looming specter of the Machine King, but also the threat of Apostalys itself? Find out next on the Seventh Valkyrie. Now that we have gotten over introductions, it is a pleasure to meet you both formally. There was a silence in the room as BC's mouth fell wide open. She looked at May, and then at me, and then raised a finger and walked outside the room. There was another huge inhale, and when BC walked back in, she was shaking her head. Okay. Excuse me, what? BC asked. I would ask that you keep your voice down, B, May said. I know that this is a lot to take in. BC snorted, then coughed, and threw her head back, cursing about something called brain drip that I didn't know what that was. And then she coughed a little bit more before taking another deep breath. Okay. So, you are telling me that this is the last Valguardian, or the first? This is a Valguardian? She asked, pointing directly at me. This is... I guess I'm just a little disappointed. Woof, that hurts. C, can you shut up? I muttered. What, me? BC asked. No, him, C, I said. He won't shut up. BC turned to May. May, this kid is fucking crazy. Cyrus, are you crazy? May asked. No, okay. I was going to tell you this in a little bit. I just have an annoying voice in my head who won't ever give me a break. Do you know how frustrating that is? I'm sorry. May, this kid is crazy, BC repeated. Cyrus, you must understand that does sound a little bit crazy, May said. BC, once again I will ask you to calm down just a bit. I asked you to lower your voice. BC did a frustrated turn in a full circle, and when she turned back to us, she began to speak again, but her voice was a barely contained hiss. There's a fucking Valguardian, and he's a little punk-ass bitch with a voice in his head. Are you kidding me? And you, what are you talking about being half wolf, half human? I thought all your wolf shit was just because you were a wild woman. Now you're telling me that you're part of some ancient society to protect people from the end of the world and the return of Apostalys? And we're not talking about the guy who showed up 7 years ago. We're talking about like the whole big, bad, end of the world, literal incarnation of evil kind of guy, who I also thought was just a fucking myth, and who, and you've come across a Valguardian who, may I remind you, is a little fucking snippy bitch. I'd say that was a somewhat more aggressive way to re-explain my introductions, yes. I'm glad that you get it. Though, I would like for you to be somewhat nicer to Cyrus, as I don't believe he enjoys being called a bitch. Actually, I don't know. When she gets all worked up, I might let her call me anything. Is this what they call a fear-erection? Cyrus, do you like being called names? May asked. I was very grateful for the opportunity to ignore what C had said entirely. It's not my favorite thing, I said. Then I would like for you, BC, to refrain from calling Cyrus names. To the degree that you are capable of. I don't expect you to change your entire personality overnight. BC squinted her eyes, then eventually sighed. I guess that was good enough. May seemed to agree. Taking a deep breath in, she rubbed her eyes. I am sorry for dumping all that information on you at once, she said. Especially you, BC. But time is of the essence, and we have no room for pretense, not when the Machine King preys so heavily on lies and deceit. Besides, against the might of a fully returned Apostalys, all of our problems right now, even the Machine King, would seem quite small. That is not, as I've been informed, the current problem what we are dealing with, but it is important that we understand the stakes of the situation. Apostalys is a world-threatening evil. Cyrus, how much did you learn of the full moon's god? They both looked at me. Not much, I said. Not much, to be entirely honest. Erethime explained that the full moon's guard were protectors of the forest, and he mentioned that there might be others, whether it was the full moon's guard or other groups around the world. Besides that, and everything that I heard between you and Tristan... May had coughed at his name. May? Is this someone I should know about? BC asked, raising an eyebrow. An old flame, May muttered. No one you should concern yourself over, BC. Cyrus, continue. Cyrus, you're going to tell me about this Tristan guy after we finish here. Now, continue. I looked to both of them, then decided to continue what I'd been saying before. Yeah, about the full moon's guard, that was it, I said. I didn't hear anything more than what you discussed earlier tonight, and even that didn't make much sense. Been kind of trying to put the pieces together, but it's not easy. BC was still looking knowingly at May, who ignored the girl's smug, pointed gaze. Then I suppose it's worth another brief explanation, May said. Centuries ago, the shadow of Apostalys descended upon this land and tore apart the paradise that had existed for countless millennia before. This, in the old stories, is called many things, but we call it the Shattering. Okay, Erethime did mention that much, I said. He said something about the Shattering, I mean. Well, it would be hard to forget. All of the forces of land, earth, and sky united to fight back against Apostalys. And when it was done, the people of the forests, men and wolves, joined their forces. Through the power of the wild, they created a new race, one who could walk between men and wolf, and the full moon's guard came to be. To this day, we watch the wilds for the return of Apostalys. Okay, hopping in here. See, this is the part that I can't believe, BC said. You keep saying that you're half wolf, half human, but what does that mean? You look pretty human to me, unless you're hiding some swishy tail back there. And this wouldn't be so hard. I swear, the more gifted people are, the more metaphorical they get about everything. Cyrus, would you care to explain a little more about the great wolves? Perhaps your words will reach her more easily. I said, when the full moon's guard, people like May and Tristan and Erethime, when they put their coats on, they turn into great wolves. What? Great wolves? Look, I'm asking what you mean by them being half wolf. You can't just say that the full moon's guard are awesome and expect that... No, they literally transform into gigantic wolves, like 10 plus feet tall. May is probably as big as this room when she's in that form. They're huge. That's why... great wolf... is that right? I am not nearly 10 feet tall, but thank you for the compliment, May said. I would show you if I could, BC, but the energy released both during the transformation and, well, while simply existing in my other form would give me away. Not to mention the fact that it would certainly alert everyone in the building and destroy a good deal of my furniture. You can transform into a giant wolf? BC asked. Yes. Fuck, BC said. She made her way over to the chair and finally sat down. Okay. I wish I could say that was the strangest thing I'd ever seen around here, but it's not. If I can ask, May, why didn't you tell me before? For the same reason that I do not know every detail of your life before arriving here, May answered. I have been a watcher in Reen for decades, but I had considered it a small part of a past that I did not feel necessary to share. You know the power that secrets have in this city, especially one as old and as important as the full moon's guard. I hope you'll understand. May, don't even, no, of course I understand. I'm just having a hard time believing. Mid-yawn, BC reached into her jacket and pulled out a bag of white powder. What? You never seen someone do blitz powder before? She asked me. I don't make it a habit, but there were some extenuating circumstances. You judging? No. No, okay, no problems. You want some, kid? I think I'll pass. I didn't feel like it would be too rude, and the girl shrugged, stashing the bag. Oh, okay. So, May, you're part of an ancient society established to prevent the end of the world from happening again, and you can transform into a giant wolf. Are you Earthshifters and Wildspeakers the only ones who can do that, or do the other nations have their own full moon's guard? I have heard of other watchers for the wild, May said, and I think it's likely. But more than that, I am not sure. I have never met one. As a rule, we are all rather secretive. And y'all were what? Just sitting around while Apostalys came by 7 years ago? BC asked. Because I'm sure the world could have used some of the full moon's guard and all your other fucking friends when he was carving a scar across the entire Edoran nation and causing the entire war that... What, were you guys just hanging out? That I cannot explain, May said. The time between the Duskfall and his defeat, well, it was only moments on the timescale of the wolves. He was here in a flash, gone in a flash. I do not know any more than that. It has been a long time since I returned home, or spoke to the Erytheme, or communed with the Council of Stars. Hey, Cyrus, you following any of this, kid? BC asked. I'm trying, I said. All I can say, from what I know, is that Erytheme, the current Erytheme, I don't know if there was a different one when you were there, May, the current Erytheme seemed to think that the Apostalys from 7 years ago, it wasn't the full thing. It was related, somehow, that and the stuff we saw in the forest, it was all related to the old original Apostalys, especially since I'm here now and you haven't seen a Valgardian since Erytheme was young, but I don't know how that all fits. Erytheme was young hundreds and hundreds of years ago, May explained to BC. We are talking a time frame of centuries. May turned to me. Cyrus, tell me about the shadows, the corrupted beasts. The influence of Apostalys. What did you see? And so I explained it. I talked about the oil and the mist, and the animals that it had given birth to and how they hungered to consume. I explained the fight at the Star Lake and the shuddering visions of those animals that still sent chills down my spine. They were wrong, I said. It made something deep inside me churn every time they got close. May nodded. That seems to be right, if any of the legends are to be believed, she said. Then she clicked her teeth. It is a shame that wolves are not much for keeping records, or we might be better prepared for this. BC leaned on the armrest of her chair. I don't really see what any of this has to do with us, she said. You've got your Full Moon's guard friend dealing with it, right? It has to do with us because I have been tasked with protecting the Valguardian. Protecting Cyrus. And the story of the Valguardians is forever entwined with that of Apostalys. After all, it was the shattering that sent them from this world and made them disappear in the first place. Want to know what happens next? Join us on Patreon to become a hero of Edera and get early access to episodes along with bonus features, director's commentary, and the full Tab to Archive. You can also find other ways to support us at the links in the description, and we will see you next week.